All right, welcome everyone. My name is Jia, and I am the product manager uh, fellow here for Coding It Forward 2025 cohort at the State of New Jersey Office of Innovation. And I was able to work on a project this summer relating to scaling government innovation with prompt engineering. And so a little bit of an overview. At the state of New Jersey, we are actually named one of 3 states with advanced AI readiness by Code for America. And one of the main contributing factors to this was actually the state's ability to adopt an AI use policy and its very own AI assistant. And so you might be thinking, what is the New Jersey AI Assistant? Well, essentially, it is a tool that helps state employees enhance their work efficiency and improve government services through AI technology. And so this assistant is mostly based off of LLMs and generative AI. Uh, Large language models, or LLMs, are essentially kind of a subset of generative AI, but more specifically focused on processing and generating human language. Um, for an easier way of thinking what the NJAI assistant is, you can kind of just think of it as like New Jersey's very own Chat GPT for its state employees. And so the main question that my project wanted to answer was, how might we maximize the utility of the NJAI assistant? To do this, we decided to create a prompt template library, which is a collection of pre-written prompts that helped users interact more effectively with AI tools by providing them structured, reusable starting points. And for our specific prompts within the prompt template library, there are bracketed words that are suggestions to customize the prompt as needed for the specific task. Some prompts also include suggestions for enhancing effectiveness, and I'll go over this a little bit further into the presentation. So why is this important? Well, prompt engineering and good prompting can actually help people finish their tasks faster, discover other capabilities of the AI assistant, improve quality of AI responses, and help people feel more confident in their work. Within this project, we have 3 main components. We have the prompts themselves, the contribution models, as well as the integration to the AI assistant itself. When first creating the prompts, I had to learn a little bit more about prompt engineering, which I did by taking inspiration from a lot of pre-existing prompt template libraries like Anthropic, as well as reading a lot of documentation and papers. So if you look on the right here in this image, it is actually the table of contents for the prompt template library. They're categorized into both general use prompts and coding prompts, with the general use prompts being mostly like brainstorming, generating text, things like that, and coding for maybe code optimization, making it run a little faster, or if you have a specific task that you want the AI to do, you can ask it. A good thing that really helped me when creating my prompts was that the NJAI assistant does not have history, so I was able to directly compare 2 prompts to see which one I thought was better. So, so next, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the 6 main components of prompt engineering and prompts in general. Listed here are task, context, exemplar, persona, format, and tone, and they're listed here also from most important to least important. Starting with task, I feel like this is something that everyone's kind of like used to, defining the action verb and the end goal. So for example, here, summarize the article. Next, we have context, providing background information and success criteria, like create a workout plan for a busy individual. So kind of answering the question of what is the user's background and environment. Then for exemplar, an easy way to remember is exemplar sounds like example, and that's exactly what it is, including examples to kind of improve the output and answering the question of what examples can kind of guide our desired output. And the example I chose here was use the STAR framework in an interview response. Then for persona, we have specifying the role or identity for the AI, like act like a hiring manager, like a professional in English, anything that might be relevant to the specific task. Then we have format, where we define the output structure, like for example, deliver in bullet notes, paragraph form, an email form, things like that. And finally, we have tone. So basically indicating the desired style that we want the output to have. So for example, use formal tone, casual tone, funny tone, whatever you need it to do. So next, we're going to talk a little bit more about the first MVP of this project, which stands for minimum viable product. And for those who don't know, it is basically the most basic version of our product that still delivers for its core functionality. You can think of it kind of like a prototype. Starting with our prompt, this is only one of the few prompts that I crafted for the library itself, that specifically goes over proofreading, editing, things like that. As you can see on the right here, the prompt itself is being categorized or highlighted into the component that it is, and it was one of the prompts that used all of these components, but depending on the task, you don't need some of them. For example, for a coding prompt, you don't really need tone, right? And so another thing I mentioned earlier was that our prompts also have these brackets that people can kind of change around to really help them in being what's relevant for the task. So it's a lot of words on the screen. Basically, we're just putting the prompt to use and generating the result from this random paragraph that I found online. It's a lot of words and you don't have to read through them all, but take my word for it, the paragraph on the right is a lot better than the one on the left. So now that we have our prompt, we kind of wanted to answer the question of what strategies can we implement to ensure that the prompt template library remains relevant and consistently updated. To do this, we decided to implement a contribution model, where basically we're asking people outside of the core design system if they want to contribute anything to improve or better our product. And listed here are the main three types of contribution model: open, hybrid, and moderated. And in the end, we decided to go with a moderated contribution model. For more context, a moderated contribution model basically is the one that is the strictest of all contribution models. If someone were to submit a prompt that they wanted to contribute, then someone on the team would have to look at it, improve it, and then add it. Whereas for open or hybrid, they might just be able to add it directly. And so there are some pros and cons of this, where if we have someone on the team, just look at it, edit it, and then add it. We have higher quality prompts, and we have prompts that are also constantly being improved. But for cons, this does take a little bit more effort and therefore possibly slower updates. And then within our contribution model, people can contribute two things, one thing or both, the prompt itself, and then feedback. And as my time as a product manager, one of my other tasks was also to help define the metrics that we wanted to measure for user feedback that can be used for future improvements. Finally, we have the implementation of the prompt template itself. This is an image of what the NJ AI assistant looks like currently, and highlighted in blue is the vision of where it will be on the website. Adding it to the main page and then redirecting it to the main template itself or the library itself, which will be on a innovation.nj.gov website. It'll look a little bit something like this, except it'll say prompt template library, things like that. So now wrapping things up, in the past 10 weeks, I was able to better understand my personal strengths and how they fit with a product role, meet new people and build relationships, as well as develop tangible projects that were able to make an impact. This was only one of the three main projects that I was working on at the Office of Innovation, and I was lucky enough to also be able to develop a feedback backlog system to track, surface, and prioritize like external team input to really help optimize responses for our team, as well as conducting metrics research and developing recommendation documentation to really systematically identify key metrics to see where we want to uh, really invest for our active product, the NJWDS. And then finally, I was able to facilitate team meetings like brainstorms and retrospectives to really fill in those PM shoes and to foster collaboration and optimize product development processes. And then thank you so much for everyone who came to listen to my presentation today. I wanted to shout out a few people. My supervisor, Ruthie, at the New Jersey Office of Innovation, the office itself, and last but not least, Cassie and Yu Yang for making this Coding It Forward summer really memorable and impactful. Thank you so much, and we'll open to questions. Yes. Hey, John. Thanks for coming.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks for a cool presentation. I really appreciated the slide with like the breakdown of all the different components in a prompt. Color coded, I thought that was really helpful as someone who is always trying to learn more about prompt engineering. I'm curious about your A/B testing process. I know you mentioned the fact that there was no history, and so this was helpful for A/B and testing. But as someone designing the prompts and curating what goes in the library, how did you decide what to include or what prompt was better? And then how do you view this scaling as we have a moderated, like how might moderators who are deciding what to include in the prompt library moving forward use that as well?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think when it came to my process in determining like which prompts are better than which, um, I was able to basically open two tabs of the AI assistant, and um, I think a lot of it were like smaller issues. I think one thing that comes to mind right now was kind of like a summary prompt that I was working on. So more context on that was explaining like some more technical work to someone who was less technical. And when I first played around with the prompt, I said, please summarize the following paragraph to someone who might be in like fifth grade. And then it gave me a generation of that. And then I actually asked the AI itself for some feedback, and it told me that actually like explaining it to like a fifth grader or a first grader wasn't necessarily the most useful for it, because I feel like it said that there was like more ambiguity in that. And then so instead of that, they told me to try a non-technical person instead. And so I compared the summarization of the two prompts side by side and found that the AI was actually right and that it was a lot less ambiguous, and more consistent, at least in when it would generate prompts. So I would also test the prompts like three times, like with one paragraph, a different paragraph, and then a different paragraph. See if it's consistent in one, maybe like the length, and two, the quality of the prompt itself. And so I think I did a lot of like just like back and forth with different things. But in the end, like I found that the more information that we provide for the AI, the more accurate and the better responses it was able to give. I hope that answers your question. Yeah, Vanessa.
Yeah, well, first of all, good job on your presentation. I just wanted to ask, as one of the only product manager fellows in this entire cohort this year, I was wondering if you had learned any other soft skills or skill sets that you could teach the rest of us.
Um, I think something that really stood out to me personally, as my first experience as a PM was being able to create my own product specification. It was actually one of the first things I worked on, and it was more specifically also made for the prompt template library. But within the product specification, I was really able to learn more on what goes into a product, the different things that we're thinking of, the user stories, the roadmaps, the first MVPs, things like that, like things to keep track of, when we should stop and measure before going forward, things like that. But that's a really broad like explanation of something I learned. Uh, but I think also something that helped me was like the mindset of being a PM. Rather, I think PMs sometimes get the have the impression of being like higher than possibly other team members, but I don't think that's true at all. I think our job as PMs is to really help and assist other team members of the other members on the team so that everyone works really well together. So yeah. I think that's the end of this. Sorry, I rushed the last answer, but yeah. Thank you so much for coming. And we'll see you guys in the main room again.